Hello guys, and happy April and happy spring. It's April 3rd and I figured it's a nice day to get out for a little bit of an urban rock hunt. We're about 2 blocks away from my house, which is really nice. The river's right here, a bunch of lakes. As you can see, beautiful area. It's kind of raining and snowing a little bit. I personally like to rock hunt when the rocks are a little wet. I'm actually hoping it comes down with a little more fury because it's not quite enough to wet the rocks since it's snow, I guess. Anyway, come along with me today. We will have some fun. So I've mentioned a couple of times in a few other videos that the Cache La Poudre River, which is where we'll be today, comes out of course, the Cache La Poudre Canyon, north and west of Fort Collins, and it's a geological treasure trove of everything from deep basement rocks such as migmatites, gneisses, schists, garnets, unikites, and of course the more regular granites and even sandstones, all the way up through the rock strata that was uplifted during the Laramide orogeny. Here's a little look at the river. Of course, this time of year the snow hasn't really started melting in the mountains, and actually this year there really isn't much snow from what I understand. So the river's pretty low. We should be able to get to where we want to go. So as any of you who live in more urban areas know, the places for where there might be any rocks that are right along the path would be extremely picked over. And that's how it is here. When I come in the summer, I always see people out with a little bag picking up rocks for the garden and whatever. So I try to find these gravel bars that are a little bit off the path, and as you can see, I'm having to kind of make my way through the brush, and that improves our chances, not a lot but slightly, of finding some good stuff. Mostly what I'll be looking for is unikite. In terms of lapidary material, that's probably the best thing that's found around here, along with graphic granites, sometimes rose quartz, and any number of different kinds of granite and related rocks. So one of the things I frequently look for is good examples of different plutonic igneous rocks, which is one of my favorites. And I did find this one which caught my eye. It's raining just enough to kind of make the rocks look speckly, so that actually makes it harder for me to see. I need it to either rain or not rain. Lord, please hear me. This rock looks very uniform, very solid, no cracks. I'll put this in the think about it pile. It's just some kind of maybe a diorite, but I like it because of how solid it is and just a nice even pattern. One of the things I collect. Here's some kind of maybe pyroxene crystals. They're kind of a grayish green. Again, it's a fairly uniform rock. It's got one crack in the end here. Let's spray it down. That is an interesting pattern. I think I will add it to the think about it pile. Of course, the other side is dirty. Let's see what that looks like. It's really dirty, so we're not going to see too much until I scrub it off. But we'll take it over. I always start what I call as a think about it pile, rather than throw the rocks in my pack. So here's the little granodiorite that I just found. We'll put them together. Let's see what else is out there. And still in the same spot, look at this unique rock. This is a friend of mine, Trevor, whom I recently did a video with up the Poudre Canyon, and he was showing me these rocks that are eaten out like this, and he says that those pockets are full of iron minerals. If you watch the video I posted 2 weeks ago, maybe a little less than 2 weeks ago, we talked about this material. This isn't really very flashy colors, but it has no cracks and a very unique texture. So I'm gonna put this one also in the pile. I have not yet reached a conclusion about what the actual rock is called, but I find them every so often here, and they look good on the sculptures if nothing else. I'm guessing it's some kind of amphibolite with a lot of iron minerals, and they basically rust out, as Trevor was explaining in that other video. Very cool. You know, as I look at this more closely, this is on the dry side that I did not spray. The cavities almost look like they have a shape. And so I'm wondering if they are the footprints of some type of soft crystals that have eroded out. Maybe pyroxene. Let me know your thoughts. In fact, there I could see a little bit of green right there of some of that softer material that isn't all the way eroded. Nice, very nice find, if I do say so myself. While we're looking around here, I'll give you guys a little bit of background information. So this particular gravel bar was formed, and there's a few other like it up and down here. In 2013 was our last really big flood event. In fact, I'll include here a video that I took of that event when this river was just raging. So look at this river, how it is down. During that flood, this was completely full, and over by the lakes where I just was, that was all covered in water. So I'm not sure how high that would have been, but it was a pretty good event, and it really moved the rocks around. After this is all done, there'll probably be some good rock collecting. Oh my. That's how close the water is to the bottom of the bridge. Jeez. And we really haven't had much since then. But there's still plenty that I have not picked over. That's one thing good about river rock hunting. There's plenty for everyone. And you don't really do any harm, because next year or whenever the river comes and moves it all around anyway. So it's a very good aspect of the rock hunting hobby. Okay, this is a rock. If you watch the video up the Cache La Poudre Canyon with Trevor, we were talking about the rhyolites. Trevor, you're gonna like this. We like to pick up these rhyolites because they're pretty rare. You know, I have maybe 10 of them all together in all my years, and I think this is now going to hold the record of my biggest rhyolite. It's ugly. In fact, let's take it over to the water. I always hope to find the banded rhyolite. There's a particular rhyolite. Ooh, there's a nice rock I need to come back to. There's a particular rhyolite that is very banded and striped. I don't think this is, but I won't be able to tell until I wet it. There's a nice chunk of quartz. Oh, wow. Let's come back for him, too. Please don't roll into the mud. Yeah, I don't really see a pattern in this one. I think it's just plain rhyolite. Yeah, I don't know that that's worth keeping. I'm going to put it in the think about it pile. Trevor, tell me if this is something you might want. If I don't bring it home, I'll be able to tell you where it is. How's that? That's a nice chunk of yellow quartz. Remember, guys, that I pick up rocks for the purpose of my displays. And so I look for colors and patterns. Wow, the light really goes through this too. There we go. So, though this probably doesn't have any lapidary value, you can just see it's a nice splash of color, as I like to say, for the garden. Almost looks a little rosy in there, but not quite. Very unique piece though, the way it's rusted. Boy, it's too bad this one is so cracked. I really like these, again, because they're very unique color combination. It's quartz with, I mean, that could be little areas of very reddish feldspar, but I'm thinking they're like lithium oxide or something along those lines. But this is totally shattered, so I'm not going to pick it up. All right, I'm not sure if this is what I'm thinking it is. Again, it's snowing just enough to kind of leave things speckly. But just like the rhyolites, porphyritic basalts and things of that nature are also very rare here. So whenever I find them, I like to at least look at them. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, that's some kind of porphyry, most likely from an igneous dike somewhere. Again, remember the canyon cuts through, literally, if you were to take a saw and saw all the way through the Earth's crust at a given point, going through all the way from the shales and sandstones at the top, all the way to the migmatites, which I like to compare with the soles of your shoes. You know, they're like right against the mantle being melted. This rock does not have a single crack in it. I can't pick it up with one hand though, but I'm definitely going to go put it in the think about it pile. See, this is a gravel bed, like I said, that really hardly anybody comes to, because you have to crawl through these bushes, and you know, it's off the path enough, especially in the summer. It's all full of weeds and you could barely get through there. So this has kind of been a nice stash for me. All right, I'm gonna take this over there. Right in the center of the screen is one of the rocks I specifically came to look for. It's not very big, and it's not your classic unakite. I would probably be more apt to call this maybe epidote. Nice bright green though. It's fairly solid. And remember, I came walking with a backpack, so I can only take so much. There's the rhyolite, the porphyry, 3 quartzes. Yeah, I'm gonna need to make a few trips, I think. I've only been here about half an hour. Good spot. I do want to clarify something I just said about the canyon cutting through the complete rock strata all the way down to where the crust meets the mantle. I don't mean where the crust of today meets the mantle. What I mean is in the Laramide orogeny, I think it was the, I don't even want to say the name of the plate because I don't remember, but basically the Pacific plate shoved under the continent, and instead of subducting at the coast like it normally does, it pushed all the way in here and basically pushed everything up, which is what made the Rocky Mountains and so forth. And so the bottom of what was then the crust is now near the surface or exposed in some places. So I hope that makes sense. You geologists, please clarify in the comments. I always appreciate that. almost hidden from view, but not quite. Another beautiful epidote. Oh, that's a nice green one. Nice pattern too. So those of you who watched the Cache La Poudre Canyon video, we were finding quite a few of these up in that deposit up on the hill, that high dry river deposit that was several hundred feet above the present river. There's just a lot of this around here. If you guys like green, the Cache La Poudre River is your spot. That's a nice little chunk. Here's another one that maybe isn't that flashy or exciting. I wish I could see it in the sun to see if it pearlesces like the feldspar, but it almost looks like a granitic rock of basically white feldspar and garnets. I see they're very faint, but there's definitely some purple inclusions in there. And this is interesting because in the granite countertop business, that was one of our favorite granites that customers liked. I think we called it cashmere, any number of them. And they were just a white feldspar rich background loaded with purple garnets. And I'll insert a piece here so you can see what I'm talking about. But I never know what I'm gonna find when I come here. I haven't wandered more than 20 feet away from this pile yet, and I've already got way more than I could ever hope to carry home. Like I said, I hadn't wandered 20 feet away yet. Well, right next to the Think About It pile, literally in it, beautiful jasper / quartz. Let's spray that thing down. I've got a nice collection of these at home, so they are common enough. I just like this one because of how yellow the quartz is with the red. Usually, a lot of times the quartz veins are white. It is kind of cracked, but since it's literally already in the Think About It pile, we'll just add it to the Think About It pile. See what else is laying right near here. I did see this little guy. So if you notice, it's quartz on the bottom. It's very dirty, so it's hard to tell, but it's basically quartz on the bottom half, and it looks like granite pegmatite, feldspar, quartz, mica. But on the contact between the two, look at those holes. And of course, we know there really aren't holes in these veins, but probably some softer mineral, maybe an iron mineral, maybe magnetite. I don't know, but that's definitely interesting. This one would look good scrubbed off. I think we'll have to consider it a keeper just because of the unique structure. Those of you who know me, you know I like to look for interesting rock structure. I like petrology and geology and how the veins work and form. I love that stuff. So this isn't really that flashy, but it's unique. So granite pegmatite veins are very common up in the canyon. And so of course here in the river, we find them as well. The sun is not out, so we really can't see the reflections, but can you see the cleavage fractures in this large feldspar crystal? And then the gray around it looks like quartz, could be some magnetite. Probably not a keeper. If it had more mica, I would keep it. I like them when they have a lot of the flashy mica. Well, it's still just kind of drizzling. Stuff is starting to be wet. I'm starting to see a lot better. There's a rock that catches my eye over there. But I wanted to show you guys this one. We were just talking about the pegmatites. This is quite colorful, and it's interesting how it has what appears to be a quartz vein or veins going through what also may be pegmatite, but it's a lot more solid. do you guys think of this one? It's probably worth going to the pile, but I don't know if it'll make it home. And the rock I just said caught my eye is a piece of concrete. Oh, not done yet. Here's a nice stripey right next to the concrete. Oh, and it is solid. No cracks. Again, remember, I look for rocks that'll look good in the displays, so I like them to be free of cracks, nice and smooth, and have something interesting about them. Yeah, if I could take every rock I found home, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Beautiful. This humble rock here doesn't look like too much, but I saw the dendritic kind of pattern, and that alerts me to pyroxenes. Oftentimes pyroxene grows kind of in a dendritic pattern from the outside of a vein to the inside of the vein. I'm not sure if you can see the reflections because the sun's not out, but I can see those crystals clearly reflect. So these are very nice, intact pyroxenes. So that's probably worth keeping just because they're not all that common. Again, if you were with me up in the canyon the other day, I found a really big one of these that I actually want to go back and get. This is really cool because I'm seeing certain rocks up here that I have already in Fort Collins, and this kind of tells us where they're coming from. This is beautiful pyroxene is what it looks like in the matrix. It almost looks like it's a vein, like this was one side of the vein, this is the other, and the crystals grew in from the sides. Well, thank you, Lord, for sending the perfect amount of drizzle and snow so that the rocks are wet, and yet I am not getting wet. A couple interesting pieces here, especially this one. This looks like it has a migmatite structure, but it's not the normal colors we usually see in our migmatites. This is some kind of amphibolite. Those of you more in the know, can we have an amphibolitic migmatite? Is that a correct term? In other words, it's the amphibolite minerals. A little bit of quartz and feldspar, but mostly hornblends, pyroxenes of that nature, a slight greenish color. And yet it has a definite migmatite structure. It almost looks like it partially melted. Anyway, nice find. It might look kind of gray when it's dry, so this might get left for whoever comes and raids my Think About It pile sometime down the road. And right next to it, I didn't see it when I was filming, is another mafic rock with some nice epidote veins going through it. I have quite a few of these, and this one is not really the nicest shape, so I'm not going to take it. Just thought I'd show you. I won't even take it to the Think About It pile because it's not very green either. I just like when those veins are in a rock. All right, let's see if I can pick this up. We'll go over to the pile. We'll look around a little more here. I'd like to keep looking, except my pile will get out of hand. We'll pick up a few more. Look at that, isn't that colorful? That's just from a little while being here. Thank you for the drizzle, Lord. I have a hard time seeing in bright light, so that's why I like it to be like this. The colors just pop a lot more for me. It's snowing, but it's above freezing, and so the snow melts on impact with the rocks. And I still haven't wandered more than 20 or 30 feet, basically where the backpack is, this little area here and down to the water. And I just keep finding treasure after treasure. Look at this beautiful solid jasper with quartz veins. I don't know that it's jasper. It's some kind of a very hard, solid material. This has a nice pattern. Yeah, see, just 2 of these will fill up my backpack. That's why these rocks are still here. Remember what I said? The areas that are easily accessible, of course, get ransacked. But these are a little, just enough off the path. Gross. I'm gonna take it over to the water and wash it because I want you guys to see it. These are nice to find like this that have no cracks at all. But this just means if a lot of you guys give a like to my video, I'll come and do 10 more videos like this. Because this is, I just walked from my house over here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's a nice piece. That's a really nice piece. Nice pattern. Look at that, two different episodes of veining going through there. I don't know if you can notice the veins going straight left to right occurred subsequently to the veins going up and down. More or less. Anyway, that's probably a 15-pounder anyway. So, because my pack is over full, we're gonna wrap things up here. Let me show you guys the pile one more time before you sign off. Oops, where's my spray bottle? Uh-oh. That's the danger of getting excited about a rock. There it is. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me. This has been very refreshing. I could not have asked for a better day. I always ask the Lord for just enough drizzle because there's a very fine balance. You know, if it rains too much, you're soaked and miserable. And if it doesn't rain enough, the rocks are dry. Just take a look at these. I'm showing them to you here because obviously all of this is not going to fit in my backpack. These are just nice. What a nice colorful mix. Some interesting geology. That one with the crystals eroded out is definitely going home. This one is definitely going home. I don't know. It's going to be a hard pick. I may have to make a few trips down here and get a few more of them, but there'll be a pile here for you if you happen to come this way. God bless you. Thanks so much for sticking with me. Always appreciate your comments, your suggestions, and like I said, we just covered a little tiny area here, so I'll be following this up with a few more videos here shortly.